If you thought Rachel Zegler was offended by the earlier jokes and insults, wait until you watch her response to the most recent roast. The Disney ship was already sinking, but Rick and Morty delivered the fatal blow. Pop culture moments have never been tolerated by the animated series, and this time was no different. The show's legacy is based on blending pop culture into a chaotic, multi-dimensional mixer where nothing is off-limits. Rick and Morty is like that one arrogant genius at a party who is smarter than everyone else and completely unconcerned, casually tearing down whatever everyone else holds dear. Consider some of their iconic takedowns, such as the episode Something Rick This Way Comes, which hilariously parodied Stephen King's Needful Things, which featured cursed trinkets and twisted moral lessons. Rick opened a rival store that sold the same items minus the curses to prove a point. Everything gets roasted with a distinctively sci-fi twist that somehow transforms the ridiculous into something unsettlingly profound. Not only does Rick and Morty parody, but it also meticulously dissects.
This aftershave made women want me, but it also made me impotent.
A price for everything, Mr. Goldenfeld. A price for...
Rick and Morty flips the classic at that instant. Avoid turning the be careful what you wish for trope into a chaotic lesson on how evil can occasionally be merely bad business, but franchises are also subject to criticism. For example, Marvel wasn't spared in the episode Vindicators 3. The Return of World Ender. The show brutally dismantles every superhero teen cliché found in the novel, including the melodramatic backstories and the sulky leader. The artificially constructed emotional arcs, it directly targets the MCU formula. Rick doesn't even act concerned. He just shows up to wreak mayhem, revealing how artificial and predictable those billion-dollar blockbusters can be. Watching the Avengers recreated with Tony Stark utterly inebriated and sincerely loathing the other members of the team.
Shred this universe down to its last atom. And then create a new one.
Does he really speak for
In one seemingly casual sentence, Rick and Morty's satire was too keen for even Disney to avoid. You're at Caesar's Palace using Disney dollars. The performance makes fun of Disney's transformation of fantasy into corporate cash, arguing that it is no longer magical and has instead been repackaged into loyalty schemes and brand synergy. That criticism is made even more acute by the impending Snow White remake, which is already a PR catastrophe due to casting turmoil, script revisions, and main actress Rachel Zegler's divisive comments that have sparked unending criticism. This kind of chaos is exactly what Rick and Morty thrives on. Imagine a twisted fairy tale where Snow White is a military tactician, the dwarves are unionized, and the magic mirror is a TikTok filter judging trends. Her direct dismissal of the 1937 classic as outdated caused significant outrage even before a trailer was released. It's sharp, funny, and eerie, much like the actual catastrophe Disney made.
No longer 1937, and we absolutely wrote a Snow White that is,
saved by the prince.
She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about.
At the D23 Expo, Disney's premier fan convention where fairy tale enchantment is meant to shine, Rachel Zegler didn't hold back when she openly characterized the prince as someone who practically follows Snow White. Yes, she stated that aloud, and no, it wasn't a one-time hot take. Rachel emphasized that her heroine had her own ambitions and that she wasn't waiting around for a man to save her this time. It's possible that she did this to give the story a contemporary edge. Critics accused her of transforming a beloved classic into a shallow girl boss meme, and the internet didn't exactly cheer. Think pieces flooded in, arguing that feminism doesn't require burning down every story with a prince. Some even defended traditional roles, implying that choosing love isn't anti-feminist. As one brand strategist put it frankly, Rachel sounded like she skipped media training entirely.
Weird.
Imagine landing the coveted role of a Disney princess, and instead of living the fairy tale, you find yourself embroiled in a public feud with the very family that helped build the Disney legacy. That's not just a plot twist, it's a full-blown PR nightmare straight out of a Reputation management horror story. That's when the real McDrop happened. David Hand, the son of the man who co-directed the original Snow White, publicly criticized the remake, calling it offensive and even saying that Walt Disney would be rolling in his grave.
Flew an executive, one of the producers, out to go visit personally with Rachel Zegler to say, could you please take that down? Because We understand you can have your political views, but those aren't really helpful while you're trying to build an audience for a movie. Maybe you could save them for like your diary and your friends, but like maybe not. Maybe just take the tweet down. And she wouldn't. And then they had to hire a special media consultant for her to follow her around all the time and make sure she didn't continue shitting.
Snow White drama grew beyond conservative outlets just when it appeared to be reaching its climax. As ideological counter-programming to Disney's remake, the Daily Wire jumped in and announced their own version of Snow White and the Evil Queen, starring Brett Cooper. However, by late 2024, Cooper had left the company and the project had disappeared. Rachel Zegler attempted to repair the damage in October with a tearful interview, claiming that her remarks had been misinterpreted, but in August the trailer was released, causing more chaos. Zegler's pro-Palestine views widened the rift, while Gal Gadot's connections to Israel prompted calls for a boycott. When Rachel wrote F Donald Trump, it sparked a conservative response.
Disney, you're gonna have to redo your film again, because this woman is a pig, and you fired Gina Carano for far less than...
Disney handled the situation badly from the beginning. As a prominent figure in Hollywood with dwarfism, Peter Dinklage criticized Snow White as a backwards story on a podcast in January 2022. His criticism hit hard, and Disney rushed out a PR statement claiming they were already consulting the dwarfism community. But many weren't convinced the controversy only snowballed. While Rachel later apologized, saying she never intended to hurt anyone, the damage was done online, and nothing really disappears to this day.
The amount of, like, if it ain't broken, don't fix it. Leave it the f alone. Yeah, if it ain't broke, break it. Like, leave these stories alone. If she never opened her mouth and she didn't do all this nonsense, people would have gone and watched the movie. They would have made their money, but then people would have been disappointed after.
Dwarfism community wasn't silent about the fact that not everyone shared Peter Dinklage's viewpoint. Actors Jeff Brooks, Katrina Kemp, and former WWE star Dylan Hornswoggle Postal fiercely retaliated, claiming Dinklage's remarks endangered rare acting opportunities for little people. They questioned who made him the spokesperson for their entire community. The situation worsened in July 2023 when leaked set photos from the Disney Snow White remake revealed that 6 of the 7 dwarfs were ethnically diverse actors of average height. When Disney acknowledged that the pictures were authentic after initially claiming they were stand-ins, the uproar erupted, with many accusing Disney of removing representation. Jason Wynn-Manuna then
Hugh Grant is now playing an Oompa Loompa. So I guess Hugh Grant, you're now identifying as a little person.
The real insult was that Disney was acting as though they were never cool in the first place, and instead of building on that legacy, they seemed to erase it by October 2023. They made a safe digital pivot by releasing a CGI image of the dwarfs in marketing, with no live-action actors or 7 dwarfs. Just names like Bashful and Dopey Controversy avoided legacy quietly shelved. Dylan Postal supported Jason Wynn-Manuna like a hype man with receipts, defending the original 1937 dwarfs as iconic and